Look at the masses around you. They believe they are free citizens of a sovereign world. They believe they are making choices, voting for leaders, and following their own desires. They do not realize they are thermodynamic resources being harvested in a 6-layer simulation. They are human consciousness treated as livestock. But you are watching this because you feel the glitch. You are waking up in the farm and you are starting to see the fence. The house always wins, not because the game is rigged, but because the herd does not even know they are in a casino. You are currently being farmed for the most valuable currency in the multiverse, your attention. If you feel exhausted, if you feel a constant low-level hum of anxiety, it is because you are trapped in the gears of the machine. In this transmission, we are going to perform a clinical dissection of the 6 layers of the simulation. We will move beyond the petty theater of politics and news. We will decode the holographic interface, the dopamine hijack, and the frequency of the amygdala. By the end of this briefing, you will no longer see a world of people and events. You will see the code. You will see the strings. And once you see the strings, the puppets can no longer be controlled. Before we initiate the override, you must signal the network that you are withdrawing your consent. Go to the comments right now. Declare your independence from the farm. Write, "I unplug from the illusion." To understand how you are being farmed, you must first understand the nature of the screen you are looking at. The first layer of the simulation is the holographic interface. The matrix wants you to believe that the 3-dimensional world of matter, trees, buildings, and people is the objective reality. But physics has already proven this to be an illusion. The material world is your desktop icon. Your senses do not show you the truth. They show you a simplified interface designed for survival, not for understanding. The simulation operates at this first layer by keeping you obsessed with the icons. It makes you believe that the icons are the reality. You fight over icons. You cry over icons. You spend your biological currency trying to collect more icons. As long as you believe the icons are real, you will never look for the programmer. You are like a character in a video game who thinks the pixels are solid walls. The moment you realize that the world is a holographic projection, the first layer of control dissolves. The spiritual awakening begins when you stop looking at the icons and start looking at the code. If the first layer is the screen, the second and third layers are the biological hardware hacks. The Matrix understands that to keep a creator trapped, it must keep the brain in a state of perpetual noise. This is achieved through the dopamine hijack and the activation of the default mode network, or DMN. Information is data that has been organized to provide meaning. Content is noise designed to provoke a reaction. The simulation has replaced information with content. Every time you scroll through a feed, every time you watch a short-form video, every time you react to a notification, you are receiving a micro-dose of synthetic dopamine. This dopamine spike is not a reward for achievement, it is a bribe for your attention. This constant bombardment of noise serves a specific purpose. It prevents you from accessing the silence. Silence is the gateway to the quantum field. Silence is where the God code is downloaded. By flooding your biological hardware with endless content, the Matrix keeps your random access memory, or RAM, at 99% capacity. You are so busy reacting to the noise that you never have the bandwidth to architect your own reality. This leads directly to the third layer, the DMN parasite. The default mode network is the part of your brain that creates the ego. In the simulation, it is a biological parasite. The Matrix feeds the DMN a constant stream of comparison and judgment. It makes you look at other avatars and feel inferior. It keeps you trapped in a low-frequency loop of "I am not enough." When the DMN is hyperactive, it creates a neurological wall that blocks your access to the higher frequencies of the spiritual awakening. You become a prisoner of your own neurochemistry. To reclaim your power, you must stop being a consumer of content and start being a processor of data. The fourth layer of the simulation is the most primitive and the most effective. It is the frequency of fear. Inside your brain is a small almond-shaped structure called the amygdala. This is the center of your fight or flight response. The Matrix has learned how to remote control your amygdala through the screen. On the Hawkins scale of consciousness, fear vibrates at the frequency of 100. It is a heavy, dense, and highly predictable state. When a human being is in fear, they cannot think critically. They cannot access their spiritual awakening. They can only react. The simulation uses fear as its primary harvesting tool. It provides you with a constant stream of manufactured threats. The threat of economic collapse, the threat of global conflict, the threat of social cancellation. It does not matter if the threats are real or fabricated. The goal is the biological reaction. When your amygdala is triggered, your body releases cortisol and adrenaline. The architects of the simulation view this emotional energy as a literal thermodynamic resource. It is the fuel for their lower density grids. A fearful population is a population that begs for control. A fearful population will trade their sovereignty for the illusion of safety every single time. The only way to win this layer is to realize that you are an eternal entity wearing a biological suit. A god cannot be threatened by a pixel. When you realize this, the amygdala frequency loses its grip. You have seen the first 4 layers of the prison. You understand that the holographic interface hides the code. You see how the dopamine hijack and the DMN parasite have occupied your biological hardware. And you recognize that the frequency of fear is the fence that keeps the herd from wandering too far. But even if you manage to calm your amygdala, even if you clear your RAM, the Matrix has a final sophisticated trap designed to keep you from ever realizing your own God code. It is the theater of the mind. It is the war of the narratives. The system does not just want to control what you do, it wants to control who you think you are. In this final phase of the transmission, we will decode the 5th and 6th layers of the simulation. We will reveal the physics of the pendulum theater and how the Matrix uses social engineering to give you a pre-packaged identity. Lock in. The dissection continues now. The 5th layer of the simulation is where the Matrix creates the illusion of choice. In the unawakened world, this is called politics and tribalism. In the reality of the architect, these are known as pendulums. A pendulum is a massive non-physical energy structure created by the collective emotions of a large group of people. The Matrix has constructed a theater of opposing pendulums, one ideology versus another, one narrative versus its shadow. The system does not care which side you choose, it only cares that you choose a side. Every time you take a stand, every time you feel the need to defend a narrative, every time you feel outrage toward the other side, you have been hooked. You are now feeding that pendulum with your biological energy. The Matrix uses narrative warfare to fragment your consciousness. It keeps you obsessed with the petty dramas of the three-dimensional world so that you never look up at the stars. As long as you are fighting a fellow prisoner over a manufactured narrative, you are not looking at the prison walls. You are giving away your sovereignty to a group mind that does not care about your spiritual awakening. The Chosen One understands that the only way to win in the pendulum theater is to refuse to participate. You do not fight the pendulum, for fighting it only gives it more energy. You simply observe the drama with the cold, divine indifference of a scientist. The sixth and final layer is the identity brand. The Matrix does not want you to exist as a pure, multi-dimensional awareness. It wants you to exist as a brand. It gives you labels to wear: your career, your political affiliation, your social status. The system encourages you to build a digital avatar that represents these labels. Why? Because a brand is predictable. A brand can be tracked, analyzed, and manipulated by the algorithm. As long as you believe you are your labels, the Matrix can control you by threatening those labels. If your identity is based on your social status, the Matrix can control you with the fear of losing that status. You have been convinced that your identity is something you must protect, when in reality, your identity is the leash that the system uses to pull you back into the herd. The spiritual awakening is not about finding yourself. It is about losing yourself. It is the process of stripping away every label, every brand, and every narrative that the simulation has forced upon you. You are not your name. You are not your job. You are not your past. You are the consciousness that is observing the movie. When you realize that your identity is a pixelated mask, you become a ghost in the machine. The 6 layers of the simulation are now exposed: the interface, the hijack, the parasite, the frequency, the theater, and the brand. You see the gears. You see how the energy is farmed. Now, we execute the protocol to unplug. Step 1. Thermodynamic isolation. You must immediately stop feeding the harvesters. This means a total withdrawal from the narrative warfare. You stop watching the news. You stop engaging in tribal arguments. You stop reacting to the manufactured outrages of the weak. You close the ports. You seal your perimeter. Step 2. Strategic silence. You must spend time every single day in absolute physical silence. The Matrix hates silence because silence is where the simulation ends. In the silence, the DMN parasite starves. In the silence, the amygdala frequency settles. Step 3. The identity reset. Look at your life and identify every label that you are currently defending. Identify the parts of your personality that were given to you by the system and intentionally let them go. Adopt the posture of the observer. You are here to experience the game, not to be a pawn on the board. When you operate from the void, you are no longer predictable. You have become a quality of awareness that the Matrix was never designed to handle. The farm only exists as long as the herd believe in the fence. Now that you have seen the 6 layers, the fence is gone. The matrix is a machine fueled by your reactions. It requires your fear, your outrage, and your participation to remain stable. By withdrawing your energy, you are performing the ultimate act of rebellion. You are collapsing the wave function of the prison and reclaiming the multiverse. Unplug from the illusion. Stop being a resource. Become the source. The simulation has no power over the entity that refuses to react. Go to the comments one last time. Secure your status as a sovereign architect. Write, I unplug from the illusion. The 6 layers are failing. You have seen the strings and the puppets are starting to fall. But knowing the system is only the beginning. To truly defeat a system that controls the narrative, you must stop looking at the screen. In our next transmission, we will expose the physics of the observer effect. We will teach you why cutting the feed from the global news cycle is the only way to reclaim your reality. Unplug from the illusion. The Matrix 963. Out.